All the jewelry for the main characters is made in real gold. Making of the jewelry took at least around 13 to 14 months, for production. See, what happens is when you are sketching, we can just draw a flower over here, but how the flower will be fitted, because Mani sir is all about details. He could take the angle from any way. So those type of things were a little challenging.
Hi and welcome to Midday's BTS Stars. So joining us today we have the CEO of Kishandas and Co. That's Pratiksha Prashant. She and her team are responsible for the elaborate jewelry of PS1.
Yes.
And it's a film everyone is looking forward to. So please tell us about the process that went into the film.
We are not only going to do the jewelry for PS1, but as well for PS2 for the whole Ponniyin Selvan film. So the process started around 3 years back. Around 2019, around March, April, I was contacted by the costume designer of PS1, Eka Lakhani. And she contacted me on behalf of Madras Talkies, that is Mani sir's production house. And she said, that we are making a period film and we are looking for someone to, do the jewelry for it, because since it's a period film, it's from the Chola Empire time. And the Chola era was actually considered as the golden era of India. So it was it was very rich in culture, and they wanted to show the flamboyance of that time. So they felt that jewelry played a very important role in depiction of that time. It being Mani Ratnam, we were sure that the aesthetics would be great, and our whatever we do would be projected in a very beautiful way, which of course, as you see the stills and the trailers, we get to know that. And they said, there are going to be like a lot of characters, like male actors, female actors, and there are a lot of important characters. It's only when we took the dive is when we understood the variety of characters. It's not about like there were two princes and like two princesses and one queen. It's not that two people had the same type of character. Each one was different, so each character had to be treated differently as the time passed. And we did a lot of look tests, and with a lot of placement jewelry in the beginning. All the jewelry for the main characters is made in real gold. But first, just to get the look right, we did some placement jewelry, and we did we tried to looks with whatever pieces we had. And once that aesthetic, we got to know what Mani sir really had visualized the characters as. Then we started making of the jewelry. We were helped a lot for the research, from Mani sir's team and from Eka's team. They had done certain researches, as in what type of motifs could be used, or what is the style they want to follow for each character. They had showed us some sketches. There's not a great picturesque depiction of that era. Whatever we see is in sculptures and temples and all that. So we were not sure as in what type of stones and all we could use, so we did some study as in what type of trade routes were available at that time, which existed, for what type of color stone could come. So we felt that today, what is Burma, the Chola kingdom did have good trade routes with those. So we've used a lot of rubies in the jewelry, and very few uncut diamonds, because we felt the Golconda region also was around, so they could have had access to those. We've used very few emeralds, because of course we couldn't find any great connect, for any emerald trade routes. But we felt, in those times also there were ambassadors who traveled and people would gift rare things to the king. So that type of little cinematographic liberty we have taken, but tried to be as close as what we can to whatever research material we had. We knew that the Cholas were Shiva followers. They were Shaivites by religion. So we have not used any motives that depict Krishna or Vishnu. Tried to see, it's not technically wrong, but we don't have any proof that they were used at that time, so we didn't want to go that technically wrong. So those type of things went into the process of the jewelry making.
Such detailed jewelry, I'm sure it took quite some time to get these pieces ready, and plus the pandemic happened and more delays. So how did you all manage all?
So of course, before the actual shooting started on floor, we did have 6 months, but the process was still ongoing. It's not that the shooting started and, we were ready with all the jewelry. We could just barely manage to get approved a few looks before the actual shooting started in 2019 December. But then in 2020 March, COVID came in, so we had shot only one schedule by that time, and then again there was a lull for almost 7 to 8 months, and at that time everything was just shut, like everything was on standstill. Even our workshops were closed, and even our store was closed for a while, and we were also still trying to get back to it. Very not sure, as in how what will happen to the movie, whether it will work again. But I think it's only it could have been only Mani sir who could have had the courage, to really get back and get this type of array of a galaxy of stars together, get their dates. And of course, once we got we got around a 1.5 to 2 months notice that maybe the shoot will start, because they were still trying to figure out the dates. But then again, we geared ourselves and got to making. But yeah, the making of the jewelry took at least around 13 to 14 months, for production of the jewelry. Of course, as and when pieces we kept on making, the shoot kept on happening, but we had to continuously make more and more for a while.
And do you all get any requests from actors, like maybe a particular style or something that they're allergic?
The actresses did complain, that the jewelry was very heavy, because it was, though we tried to make each piece as light as possible, for them to wear, because they have to wear it, at least for 8 to 10 hours, once they are into their full attire. And even to get into that dress, it took them a lot of time. It took like an hour for makeup, and maybe an hour and a half to for the elaborate hairdos that they had, and another 1 hour, for the dress and the jewelry and everything. But we tried to make the pieces as light as possible, each piece. But at a particular given time, there were so many pieces of jewelry on, and especially the ladies, I'm saying, from the head had at least 5 to 6 pieces. And then the earrings, and there were attachment to the earrings, and then there were 2 to 3 necklaces and armbands and waist belts and hip belts and anklets and rings, bangles. So, sometimes it was a little overwhelming, but I don't think any of them. I think the look test that we did before, so that really helped us to understand what they wanted, and them to understand, so they were mentally prepared, what they would have to go through. But I think because it was everyone was trying to live Mani sir's dream, that apparently he has wanted to make this film from almost 40 years. This is his third attempt to make the film. So, for everyone, I think the weight of the jewelry or the stress of wearing so much jewelry, I don't think, the costumes and all were not a issue for them. It was just about, getting the right act together for the project.
We have an ensemble cast, the leading ladies itself. There are huge names like Aishwarya,
Yes.
Trisha, Sobhita also.
Yes.
So how did you keep it look different and to suit their characters?
The costume designer Eka Lakhani and Madras Talkies themselves had a team of historians, who were doing a research on the characters, and they had given us some type of a characteral sketches, as in how the hairstyle for that particular person should be, and mainly what is the character of that person. So Kundabai, which is played by Trisha, the character. So she is a princess who is already born rich, she has 2 brothers, and she is very empowered, and, she has a lot of power in terms of, say in the kingdom. Her character is with a lot of poise, and, so she didn't have to wear 3-4 pieces to really show that, she was a princess. So we gave her maybe just 2 or couple of statement, huge big pieces, because in those times, or in any times, this type of jewelry is always inherited. It's not something that you can just take a bag of money and go and buy a lot of jewelry. It has to be collected over the years. So that type of look we had for Trisha, and especially with her hairstyle, if you have seen the trailer and the face off look, so a lot of work was done on the hairstyle. There's a lot of embellishment on the hairstyle. See, what happens is, when you are sketching, we can just draw a flower over here, but how the flower will be fitted, how, because we don't want to see threads, we don't want to see pins, because Mani sir is all about details. We couldn't just give a flower over here and tie it with a thread, and you see the thread here and a pin here and all that. So, because for him, he could take the angle from any way. So those type of things were little challenging. But like all the three characters, like I told you about Trisha's character, then next is Nandini's character, which was played by Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. So she, in her character, she is somebody who would like to show the jewelry, so her like hairdo, she has an andal bun, the bun which is at the side, so there were 2 3 hairstyles complementing, that style, and so we had to beat the jewelry for that accordingly. And even her silhouettes were different. So like, sometimes we gave 2 waist belts, sometimes we gave a hip belt with a waist belt. And Shobita's character is more like, her clothes were also very breezy. She's very young, in the film, and there are like 2 3 songs, whenever she's a good dancer. So her outfits were in that style. She has a long plait, so we could give her like, a gold or a embellished like a choti, that what's you call the hair piece. So that way, all the 3 leading ladies could have a different look. We saw to it that they were distinctive. So if you saw her, it's not that you could mix her up with someone else. So even clothing wise, hairstyle wise, jewelry wise, we like I said, we could achieve that with the look tests, that we have done. We have done at least 3 3 4 4 look tests with each actress, and every time we did a look test, we tried at least 7 to 8 different looks. So like there were at least 25 to 30 looks tried for each actress. Mani sir never gave us a brief that I want this, I want this, I want this, but he was very clear with what he doesn't want. So he always wants to try you. He always wants you to try new things. He always tries to tell, that thing I liked a lot. This is not nice. So maybe something like that, he was like that. So that way we were able to get the right, ingredients for each character.
The men also are sporting jewelry since it is a period film. So any pieces that you would like to talk about?
So like for each men, we have made a specific signature piece. I'm talking about the leading men. So we've given signature pieces for each person, again, depending on what is their status, what is the hierarchy in the film, and, whether it's a king, whether it's a prince, whether it's a crown prince, whether it's a wannabe prince. Though it's a 1,000-year-old story, you can really resonate it very well. Even with today's, it's not that we'll feel like, oh, these type of emotions, do they really exist? It's not like that, It's very much to like, we can connect to the story. So we've given signature pieces to each character, which a character. So the men were in 2 types of looks. One is they are in the armor look, whenever they go for a war or they come back from a war. And one is in the royal look, where, they are in the palace, or they're in the room, or they're in the court, or things like that. So we have given every male characters a signature piece, which they wear it. Even if it's an armor, they wear it. And, even if they are in a royal attire, then it's layered, with some, like heavier necklaces, and, they have a belt, and they have like, bazu buns, and they have a kanti, which is like a closed stiff thing to the neck, which men used to wear, which we see in a lot of drawings, and we've seen in a lot of sculptures, if you go to southern Chola temples, when you see the men, wearing the kantis. So we have tried to give the signature pieces, which differentiate between the male characters, depending on the hierarchy. Maybe the king wears a belt which is very bejeweled, and he has 3 4 options, where if he's sitting in front of a full scene, which is in the court, where he's having all his royals and mid royals and the public see, then he's more adorned. If he's in the room, he's wearing lesser pieces, or more little simpler pieces. Of course, his simpler pieces are much more adorned than the prince's, normal royal. So we've tried to take all that into consideration. And, even when every scene was shot, that time also, depending on what is the scene at that time, whether it's a happy scene, whether it's a festive scene. And, we've done that type of work even on the men characters.
And any advice for people who are looking to get into this line, newcomers who want to get into jewelry and especially designing for film?
There's no advice as such. I think that advice would go for costumes or jewelry or set designing, anything that you have to go with what is the character requirement. It cannot be just a showcase of like what we want to do. It has to be, how the thing fits into the film, into the storyline and all that. I mean, that is what something I think everyone should take care. And I think all people who are successful in these lines do take care about that.
All right. It was lovely having you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Natasha. Thank you very much.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.